The community has voted, and in fact, the community has convinced me to talk about Frigimon. Quite frankly, I'm really happy to do so. I mean, the past videos we've only been talking about Digimon with world-destroying powers. Sure, it's interesting, but if we were to continue this trajectory, we wouldn't be talking about those other Digimon who are just as interesting. And seriously, there are more than enough Digimon left in the shadows, so might as well try and shed some light on their sides. On top of that, I love the snow. I don't like the cold, but I love the snow and what it does to me just by seeing it fall. And there are a bunch of snow Digimon who haven't been touched yet, along with the many other aquatic Digimon, now that I think about it. So there's enough a reason to take a break of those popular Digimon to shed some light to those others. Alright, so who is Frigimon? Let me start by saying this. Firstly, I can already tell that there has been at least some degree of misconception about this Digimon, and secondly, I think that the Digimon developers did not immediately know what to do with it. That's why, in many of the stories it features in, it only received these sort of friendly and nurturing roles where it usually takes care of someone. That's why it actually never really received a proper ultimate or mega level form. So it leaves us with a beautiful and very recognizable Digimon with not much development. But that's okay. That which is missing, we're going to try and fill it in via this video. Frigimon belongs to the Nature Spirits family. Members of this field are generally animal Digimon. And I know that this might come as a surprise because when you look at Frigimon, you're seeing a snowman. Hence why its other name is Yukidarumamon, with Yukidaruma meaning snowman in Japanese. The thing is that Frigimon isn't a snowman. It's in fact a humanoid bear made of snow. I hope it's a surprise for you because it sure was a surprise for me. That's the big revelation about Frigimon. All is not always what it seems. Frigimon is a bear. Meaning that it technically should be related to the many bear Digimon in existence, like Bearmon or Monzeimon, even if the latter is a teddy bear. We're going to take the bear aspect of Frigimon into account to discuss its potential Digivolution line, because I do have some very good suitors for its later forms. Heck, we're even going to add some fan-made ultimate and mega level forms for Frigimon into the mix, and it's going to be amazing. Anyway, instead of being part of the Nature Spirits family, Frigimon also belongs to the Deep Saviors family. Members of this field consists of generally aquatic or polar Digimon, with the polar part obviously making a lot of sense. Its whole body is covered in ice and snow crystals after all. It has a cold appearance, and once it is challenged, you will see it freeze its opponents to absolute zero with its punches. You will see it fling an unending stream of snowballs, or it will breathe out a frozen breath. So, Frigimon is a Digimon that was designed to remain in colder and freezing areas. It needs to remain in those colder areas because its entire body has adapted to that climate. In fact, it reached a point where it became especially outmatched against Digimon of the likes of MERAMON, who's basically the opposite of Frigimon, as it walks with a humanoid body made of flames instead of snow and ice. If you want to know more about MERAMON, know that we've already covered it. The link towards its video is in the description box. Now, here's something interesting about Frigimon. As I said, its body has adapted to the cold regions of the digital world, right? Now, its body became all white. The thing is that I'm starting to think a little bit about SNOWAGUMON, who we have discussed before. It's an Agumon who was raised in the colder regions and became an inhabitant of said regions. In fact, it reached a point where SNOWAGUMON can't even use fire anymore. The link towards its video is in the description box. But why am I mentioning SNOWAGUMON? Well, it's because I believe that Frigimon might also belong among those Digimon who are spread around the digital world and eventually adapted entirely to its direct environment, just like SNOWAGUMON. I say so because there is another variant of Frigimon which is called MUDFRIGIMON, or in Japanese words, Chuchidarumamon, meaning Mudman Digimon. Yukidarumamon means Snowman Digimon. The difference between both is that MUDFRIGIMON has a body mostly made of earth data. That's the only difference between the two, as they both still possess the same gentle personality and both hate to do battle unless push comes to shove. While it is said that MUDFRIGIMON may be a mutant that was born from a mutation of Frigimon, I think that it is likely that a Frigimon, or earlier forms in its Digivolution line, so happens to have been born in a different environment. Think about it. If we go back to the forms of Frigimon before its rookie form, which by the way has never really been confirmed unless you take Penguinmon, a Digimon that many consider to be one of Frigimon's rookie, but anyway, one of the earlier forms of Frigimon would be Poyomon, a fresh level Digimon. This Digimon is one who drifts through the net ocean like a jellyfish. That's why it partially belongs to the same Deep Savers family Frigimon belongs to. Poyomon drifts around in the net ocean. It drifts, and I'm quite sure it will end up in various parts in the digital world. Some will obviously remain in the net ocean, others will travel on land, and some might end up in the Arctic regions, etc. I am pretty sure that a Poyomon who had a data configuration that was meant to make it eventually digivolve into Frigimon had gotten itself in an area that wasn't cold or freezing, hence the adaptation to digivolve into MUDFRIGIMON. And Poyomon is an important Digimon, my good friends. It has the most primitive structure among the Digimon discovered to date. That's why it has been showered in attention as the missing link. And with missing link, I mean the knowledge gap in Digimon evolution. That's why scholars and enthusiasts who are studying the roots of Digimon have claimed that Poyomon might be the key to solving the mystery of the origin of Digimon. Though I might not exactly recommend to go and study Poyomon too much, as the Digimon is a bit controversial. It digivolves into a bunch of rookies who each take different routes. It's basically an endless job. If both Frigimon and MUDFRIGIMON happen to fuse, they will become the ultimate puppet and teddy bear type Digimon named Pandamon. Remember that Frigimon and MUDFRIGIMON are both bears, so it makes sense that they would become another one even if it takes the form of a toy bear. Interestingly, while its component Digimon are sweet Digimon with good hearts, Pandamon became the opposite. It is expressionless, apathetic and brusque, displaying absolutely no charm. Also, while Frigimon tends to live in communities, or has been seen living in communities, Pandamon is a lone wolf who gained a sort of little rivalry with another teddy bear type Digimon, namely Monzemon. The rivalry came because Pandamon became envious of Monzemon's popularity, as both have similar looks. They look alike, yet one has more fame than the other. And to be honest, that's not really much of a surprise either. You see, Pandamon is a bit like your typical panda bear, meaning that it is extremely rare. Only a few of them are left in our planet, and same goes with Pandamon. There are very few of these Digimon in existence. That's why they are so rarely seen. It's a bit hard to be popular if you are rarely seen, right? Now let me quickly take you back to Frigimon if you don't mind. There is something else I must tell you. There is another Digimon I'm going to discuss that might or might not be related to Frigimon at all, but I have to bring it in the conversation so that we can at least discuss and judge for ourselves. I'm talking about a Digimon called Rockmon, otherwise known as Golemon, with Gole meaning golem, and a golem is a creature formed out of a lifeless substance such as dust or earth that is brought to life by ritual incantations and sequences of Hebrew letters. To be brief, Rockmon is a Digimon whose body is mostly made up of rock data, and unlike Frigimon, but actually more like Pandamon, it lacks emotion. It doesn't really have a mind and only does as ordered. That's also what we saw in Digimon Adventure, when it was created by the swarm of Sound Birdmon who unified and controlled scraps of data found in the Tree of Knowledge. I'm talking about it now because Rockmon made its debut in the game Digimon World back in 1999, and aside of its appearance, you also have its moves, which are almost exact copies of that of Frigimon. That's why some believe that Rockmon could be yet another mutation of Frigimon. Question remains why it is called Rockmon as there is no rock to be seen. It's just that seeing how much of it resembles Frigimon, well, at least back in the period they were both revealed, it left me and in fact many others to believe that both of them might be somewhat related. If it's true, well, that's actually hard to tell. We don't know what the developers had in mind. But it's certainly among the many Digimon secrets that we might or might never get an answer to. But at least we've done our part by mentioning it here in this video. What do you think of it? Is it possibly a mutation of Frigimon? Let me know in the comment section. Now here we are where it gets interesting. Frigimon doesn't officially have an ultimate level and mega level. Well, I think it doesn't have them. But I do have two recently released Digimon who might do the trick. So we'll discuss them both, and afterwards I'll be adding a fan-made ultimate and mega for Frigimon. One of the suggested ultimate forms for Frigimon would be POLARBEARMON, an ice snow Digimon. It's a Digimon from snowy areas that has digivolved by absorbing data related to winter sports. I think it is quite a fitting ultimate form for Frigimon as they do have similar aesthetics. The body is quite similar, the colors. In fact, I see POLARBEARMON a little bit like a Frigimon who, well, digivolved by indeed having absorbed data related to winter sports. And speaking of sports, these skis it uses are the source of its problems, I would say, as when it is skiing, it tends to enter the territories of Digimon such as MUDFRIGIMON and GOMAMON, who are both very territorial Digimon. MUDFRIGIMON we have discussed in the Explaining GOMAMON DIGIVOLUTION line video, and we explained that it considers its den and territory to be sacred ground, so it will end up getting aggressive when one comes near it. It probably had most of its clashes with HYOGAMON though, a Digimon we have also explained in the Explaining OGREMON DIGIVOLUTION line video. But now, POLARBEARMON came into the mix. This is making me curious to see what other clashes might occur in the Digimon world's polar regions, because there is still a whole tribe of Ikakumon and Zudomon who are governed by Vikimon. There is so much that can happen there, truly one of those areas that we have to pay more attention to. Anyway, let me try not to deviate much. POLARBEARMON is quite the constructor, as in this form it gains the ability to create tools made of ice. It has the skis and ski poles, which it uses to freely slide around snowfields. It also digs dens with an ice pick and builds snow forts to secure a place to live. I believe it also created the guns on its shoulders that it can use as jetpacks, and also to fire a barrage of bazooka snowballs. And what I found most important is that it frequents a small snow town called Thrymheim, where it took up the role of constructing shelter for other Digimon. However, before discussing that snow country, I first would like to discuss the one who rules it, which is the Mega Level Ice Snow Digimon SKADIMON, POLARBEARMON's Mega Level and thus also Frigimon's Mega Level if confirmed. SKADIMON rules over Thrymheim and protects the country's inhabitants from invaders by waving its wand to control ice and snow, and with that it is able to conjure various things to ward off attacks. We're going to get into its magical abilities in a moment. First, let me tell you that Thrymheim is a small, snowy country somewhere in the mountains surrounded by ice in the shape of a snow globe. It is inhabited by many Digimon from frigid regions. I hope we will get to see more of its inhabitants. That way I could take more of my time to analyze it, just like I did with the Digimon Wizard dimension called WITCHELNY. And speaking of WITCHELNY, this reminds me, remember HEXEBLAUMON? We talked about it in its own video. We explained that it protected other Digimon until the very end during an ice age that came to the digital world long ago, before it would move to WITCHELNY. I'm wondering if it brought Digimon to the city Thrymheim, which would probably be the city that knows how to deal with an ice age, considering they already are in polar regions. Food for thought. Also, one more thing about the city before we get to explore Scatymon. In Norse mythology there is a place that has the same name. Thrymheim is the home of the giants, the territory of the Jotunheim. The territory was at some point ruled by Skadi, a figure from Norse mythology known primarily as a giantess and a goddess associated with skiing, winter and hunting. Her name is often linked to the harsh, cold environments of the mountains. Skadi's story reflects themes of survival, power, and adaptation to nature. Her symbolism connects her to the winter's harsh beauty and the wild, untamed aspects of nature. This goddess has been digitalized along with the city Thrymheim to become SKADIMON, who would rule over a digitalized version of Thrymheim. This explains much of SKADIMON's appearance. It appears to be a large snowman, just like Frigimon, except that most of its body is akin to a powered exoskeleton made of ice. However, what you have to know is that the body you're seeing is mostly just a suit at best. I say so because SKADIMON is, in fact, the small fairy inside the snow globe on the head of the armor. And it makes sense that SKADIMON is a fairy Digimon. Remember Piximon? We went through its abilities, which is called the advanced programming language of another dimension. It can magically pop up in every place, time and space. So some fairy Digimon have these godlike abilities. And SKADIMON can do much of the same, but is very ice related. It can summon giant snow hands. It can shoot myriad snowman-shaped missiles at its target. It can break its snow globe head to release its snow slides that envelops the enemy. And more importantly, it protects the country's inhabitants from invaders by waving its wand to control ice and snow, and it is able to conjure various things to ward off attacks. So it does have a lot up its arsenal, and I love the way it rules and protects. It might not be a good thing from my part to make the comparison, but I had wished Queen Bimon, who explained in the Explaining Queen Bimon Digivolution live video, would be a bit more like that instead of being one who loves to get attention. But I digress, that's just my opinion. Interestingly, you see the globe in which Scadimon lies, there is always a gentle snow falling inside it. However, in the midst of a fierce battle, the snow grows into a blizzard, so fierce that its true form can't even be seen. If Scadimon were to reach the peak of its wrath, the globe will break and its appearance would be exposed. Luckily, the globe easily regenerates and is even made of the same type of material that made the ice wall that surrounds the country. So, definitely an interesting Digimon to say the least, but with that being said, let us now get to the Digimon fan art. But first, know that I normally put all Digimon fan art in the Explaining Digimon fan art playlist. It's just that, depending on the Digimon we are discussing, I might make exceptions, in which case they tend to not come in this playlist, like this video. We'll first make a stop by MUDFRIGIMON. It's a Digimon that I have found on Reddit, and I believe that it has been made by Seawolf Commander. I think that for a Frigimon Ultimate, this form really looks amazing. It also does look creepy, because it's basically at first glance a Frigimon that is melting and perhaps even dying. Guys, Seawolf Commander, whose information I will put in the description box, has done something I have always asked us fans to do, meaning to give a background story to their creation. That way we would understand more of what we're seeing, and MUDFRIGIMON has definitely one of the best stories out there. The level of depth I have read is not just worthy of making it an official Digimon, but it is, to be fair, the best story among fan-made Digimon I have read so far. So let me quote. Here I go. A snow slush Digimon that has begun to melt down upon its Digicore, growing too strong in its ice body. In efforts to attempt to preserve its own existence, it mechanized more and more of itself with cooling systems. It binds the melting parts of itself with high-power air conditioning and liquid cooling, and stores any liquefied chunks in the tank to reintegrate over the course of hours. Sadly, the excess core energy and output of the cooling systems creates a bubble of sweltering heat with freezing cold inside and outside this radius, further trapping itself in a cycle of heat and cold. MUDFRIGIMON's special moves are Laden Frost Crush, in which MUDFRIGIMON creates a freezing cold wave around itself, then ignites the environment with a heat wave immediately following, and its other attack is Sub-Zero Frost Drive, where it cracks open the ground and converts the vacuum to a snowy vein of slush. Despite this, it craves a simpler, colder time and wishes it could return to the Arctic territories in efforts to protect its community. Unquote. Metal Frigimon essentially is a Frigimon who found itself outside the Arctic regions. It's one who had to survive in an environment that wasn't good for itself. Still, it managed to digivolve via technology. However, looking at the quality of the tech, clearly it wasn't Andromon's tech, as it does look relatively outdated. This could mean that despite being powerful as an ultimate level Digimon, which is the level I would give it, I think Frigimon, as in Metal Frigimon, would have yet to reach its full potential, but for that it would have to survive first and foremost to reach higher levels of powers. I am really giving this design a 10 out of 10. I absolutely love it, and I'm giving it extra points because of the very interesting background story, which absolutely makes sense, especially when we take Frigimon into account. I really find it important that for a later form of Frigimon, that this concept of snowman, snow and ice would remain. So again, Metal Frigimon makes absolute sense as a follow-up to Frigimon. It's a logical consequence for being a Digimon who still evolves, but in circumstances that are against its nature. Well done. For a mega level of Frigimon, I think that LADYFRIGIMON, who is made by Trevor Woodham, is the best and most suitable. You can find the link towards the artist's profile in the description box. Interestingly, LADYFRIGIMON is about a year or two older than SKADIMON. Yet, I see a lot in its appearance which reminds me of Scatymon. Take its staff for example. It has a globe with a little bear in it. It's in fact the same concept as with Scatymon, except that LADYFRIGIMON would have it first. Could it also be that the true LADYFRIGIMON is the one in the globe? Who knows? We haven't been told. I will admit one thing though. I think that if LADYFRIGIMON would have been considered as Frigimon's mega level, or no, maybe better said, if LADYFRIGIMON would be SKADIMON, I would have understood it. It looks like a magician, it looks like a goddess, it looks like a potential protector, a leader. In fact, it looks like one who would live at the top of the Thrymheim society, especially when you consider the jewels it is wearing and just the fabric of its clothing. I also love that there is still the bear part that can be found on it, which again is reminiscent towards Frigimon, who is itself a bear. Many Digimon have their faces covered, like Angel Digimon or Sakuyamon or Rosemon, while LADYFRIGIMON is also covered, but with a mask of, I believe, to be a bear, which is absolutely great. I also think it has wings, right? But no wings? See, that's why I always want you all to write good stories, because otherwise we'll have to make speculations, which is unfortunate because many of those fan-made Digimon have the looks to become an officially recognized Digimon. LADYFRIGIMON to me should be among those who should get a chance. So it's truly such a waste that it did not get more of a background story, because seriously, the design is so good that you could simply call it SKADIMON. And you know what, you could even give it SKADIMON's background story. And if you really don't want it, you might even see it as a mode change. I'm giving the design yet another 10 out of 10. Well done. Hi guys, this is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I have to say that it really does me a lot of good to be back to explaining Ice-type Digimon. Again, we've been hanging around all these other dragon or other types of Digimon, and last time we spoke about ice-related Digimon is in fact quite a while ago. And Frigimon, I think, in fact, I'm sure many were curious to see it digivolve, to see what else it had to offer. So I hope that this video gave you a lot of information, and I hope you are just as excited as me to continue explore the digital world and its various regions and its various Digimon. Make sure to write your opinions down in the comment section. Make sure to tell me more about what you think of the Frigimon line. Do you like it? What do you think of Rockmon? Do you think it is a Frigimon? Who do you think would be Frigimon's rookie form? I know I did not talk about it, so I'm curious to read your thought about it. Also, which other Digimon do you want to see explored? Let me know in the comment section, and please make sure to drop a like and to subscribe. It'll help the channel a lot and I would really appreciate it. Know that all videos have their spot in the various Digimon playlists on the channel, which are always updated, that way you can catch up to newer and older videos.